Good morning, my beautiful babes and babettes. I'm your resident active advocate, and wow, Lily, it's not even 10:30 in the morning, and you're already making a video. What's up? Yes, voice of reason. Yes, I am. Now go back in the box. But, shut up! All right. So today, I would like to talk to you about how to avoid being the one to maliciously infantilize another person. This whole thing can be applied to any negative ism, ableism, sexism, racism, those sorts of things, and comes out of a sense of I am superior to this other because they are intrinsically other. There is nothing they can do about it. Therefore, they are weaker by nature than I am. They are, quote, inferior by nature to me. That does not fly, and anyone with a basic understanding of human decency knows that that does not fly. However, even when a person does honestly, in any other realm, have a basic understanding of human decency, there may be certain groups to which they will still apply an ism. Usually, negative isms are comorbid with one another. You're not just going to be a one-issue bigot for the most part. Most people don't just dislike women, or don't just dislike non-whites, or don't just dislike people with disabilities. Oftentimes, these sorts of things will be comorbid, but there are rare cases where a person will believe themselves to be enlightened in one particular realm and may actually act as if they are. But in another realm, they will see, quote, those people as inferior because of their intrinsic qualities. For example, I can be less blind through using glasses, right? They improve my vision. But I can't be less white. I can't be less female. These sorts of things. So those are intrinsic. My disability is intrinsic as well, but there are certain technological things that can help. The problem is that people who maliciously infantilize people with disabilities will often see these aids as crutches, quote unquote, to, quote, fix the problem. Problem, quotation marks. I'm throwing quotation marks around. But the problem with that view is that everyone needs help to some extent. When it comes to interacting with the social, quote, other, a lot of the time people will not understand that it is society that conditions people to create me and them categories, us and them categories. And these things are not healthy. You know that I don't support the social pyramid. You know this by now. These things are not healthy in creating a society of equals. We are going, all of us, to be different in our intrinsic talents, our intrinsic weaknesses, our intrinsic traits. But that doesn't mean that any of us is superior or inferior to anyone else. I know that much of this channel's content is based in theory rather than in praxis. But one major tip I would give to actually helping yourself out of these negative isms, if you find, and if you can be honest enough with yourself to find that you are one who indulges in these, the most concrete tip I can give you to get yourself out of this, because no one wants to see themselves as a bigot. No one really wants to act as a bigot if they don't know they're doing it. If you do know that you're doing it and you're still doing it, then don't. But if you don't know that you don't know, how can you stop yourself? Exposure therapy. That is how. Thankfully, society is opening up to other groups of other people. I always put quotation marks around the word other. But, people with disabilities in Canada are becoming more prominent because our demographic pyramid is getting top heavy. In other words, there are more old than young now. That's one thing, but another thing is the cultural and racial diversity that is present in this country now. And this is true of America as well, thankfully. The quote, West is opening up. And I really, really appreciate that because it exposes us to things that we were completely ignorant of even 50 years ago. 50 years is not that long a time, but long enough for social change to take place. One of the many good things that has come of this is that people are being exposed to people who are, quote, different from them. And that exposure can translate into other areas. So if you find that you are able to make friends with a racialized, quote, other, let's see, like a white person making friends with a black person, that kind of thing, but actually making friends and not just being, here's my token friend, quotation marks, actually doing it. If you find that you are capable of doing this, stretch your wings a little bit. Go into other fields. Find someone who you think that you really could get along with on more than just a superficial level and try to make friends outside of the realm of your understanding. One of the very concrete problems that I have experienced in my life, too, is that some people may take an interest in me because they don't understand, quote, how my body works, how my eyes in particular work. This is my most visible disability. I mean, like anyone looking at my face right now can probably tell that I am visually impaired, right? And when I was younger, and this has happened to friends of mine as well, people would say, hey, how do you see to do XYZ? How do you use your cane? What's that for? What are all these dots on the page? I didn't use Braille as like my first kind of, like, I don't use Braille commonly for reading, but I did learn the Braille alphabet and, everything like that. I learned Braille, but I don't use it. But people are curious, right? They're curious about these other fields, but then oftentimes the problem lies in the fact that once they have learned what they want to know about the quote other and have gotten a sense of what they think it is and have categorized it into a comfortable box in their head, that's when they'll drop you. The problem I have with that is quite obvious. The problem I have with that is that it does not allow for actual friendship. It only allows for surface level interaction based on this one thing. And my idea of master statusing, I didn't make up that term, but the whole idea behind master statusing is I am only interested in you, or I am only defining you by this one trait that makes you, quote, different from me. And that is where the negativism comes from. So I would advocate for people who are actually interested in having that surface level interaction to also go deeper, okay? Go deeper and see the whole person. Don't just see one part of their functionality. A lot of malicious infantilization will come out of total ignorance of what a person actually is, who they really are, what they are really capable of doing. And because our definition of disabled, quotation marks, has been formed for us by society as an inferior other, we oftentimes don't feel the need to go any deeper than that because the whole idea is that, well, why should I have to, quote, lower myself to meet this person on their level? You're not lowering yourself, for one thing. You're actually expanding your own base of knowledge. And I really, really advocate for people doing that. Get to know other people on their level and don't think of it as lowering yourself to that level. Everyone is on different levels from everyone else, which also makes us all the same, really, because, intrinsic differences, like I said earlier. So basically, the whole idea of getting away from malicious infantilization is to see the quote other as someone who has human qualities, as someone who has human value, not to look at them just for how they differ from you, but to look at them for not even what they can teach you, because that's master statusing too. Just look at them as a human being. That's all I ask. That's all anyone ever asks. I mean, we want all of us to be seen as valuable, lovable people. We are social animals. It's how our society has always worked. It's the reason why humanity has lasted this long. We support one another through our minds and our bodies, through our intelligence, through our love. And we have to keep doing that if we want to keep surviving. We can't keep creating this other category, for every single kind of other that a person could want to create. We have to stop doing that, because that's a mindset of division rather than a mindset of unity. And I was told by my lovely consultant last night that when I get passionate, I start to talk pretty quickly. So, right. But I think it's really important that we all understand this stuff, because it's not just people with disabilities. It's, everyone sort of cannibalizing everyone else, and it's BS in my mind. Really, what needs to happen is that we have to start having these conversations on a systemic level as well, not just on an individual level. On an individual level, you can do your own work, and please do, for heaven's sake. But on a systemic level, we have to turn all of us to one another. Do not turn to, quote, figures of authority, because they don't care, okay? Turn to your community. Turn to one another. Turn to the person you don't understand and say, with open mind and open heart, I want to understand you. But only if you legitimately want to do it. If it's not legitimate, don't bother. Please. Because it's not going to work out, for the same reason that it hasn't worked out for the past several thousand years. All right? So, as with yesterday's video, baby steps, baby steps, baby steps, baby steps, because that's, sequence processes. These are things, they may need to happen slowly, but they're still going to happen, and they need to happen, and we need to make them happen consciously. All right, so that's my rant of the day. And then tomorrow I will be talking about the recipient of malicious infantilization. And I have been on this end as well. And I know other people who have as well. So that's going to be fun. All right, I will talk to y'all tomorrow. Like, comment, share, subscribe, because this crap is important. Thank you. All right, have a lovely, wonderful day, and the sun is shining, and I'm early. Yay! All right, fare thee well. Bye. Mwah.